Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Tina's Leg. Today I am going to answer a question that was recently asked of me from somebody who watches my YouTube videos. And they asked if I could pick just one thing out of my whole life that would be the hardest thing that I have had to deal with in regards to having an artificial leg and having to wear a prosthesis. What would that be? So I'm going to answer that question today, but first I'm going to say that cute shoes aside, because I love fashion, I love cute clothes, and I love cute shoes and purses and accessories. And my whole life I've never been able to wear high heel shoes. And that has affected all different things. It affected high school dances, weddings. Anytime I go to a formal event and have to dress up, I have to look for cute pairs of flats because I am unable to wear high heel shoes at all. And so that, as a woman and as somebody who loves fashion, has just killed me over my life, not being able to buy and wear cute high heel shoes. It is something that I think I have missed out on my whole life, but that is not the answer to today's question. So the hardest thing that I have had to deal with physically in my life in regards to my artificial leg, I would say hands down, is that I have dislocated my kneecap. Probably at least 5 times in my life, and it is the most excruciating pain that I honestly have been in, aside from giving birth. And the amount of recovery for me in regards to that is crazy. It's at least an 8-week recovery, and we're talking even months after that for me to actually trust my knee fully again. And so we're just gonna dive right in to when that first happened to me, why it happened, and then why it has continued to happen throughout my life and what surrounded those circumstances. So we're gonna go back in time to when I was in 7th grade, and I was in PE on the basketball court with all the other girls playing basketball. And at this point, I'd had no issues with my knee whatsoever. We were playing basketball and the ball was handed to me by another player, and I grabbed it and I went to turn. And as I pivoted and turned, my foot stayed in one place. So my tennis shoe was kind of stuck on the cement, and I tried to turn my body, and my leg sort of went in 2 different directions, and my patella, my kneecap, kind of gave out, and it literally completely went to the side of my leg. So my kneecap was actually over here, and it went underneath all my muscles, and it was just sitting here. My leg was in the forced bent position, so I was sitting on the ground just screaming in pain. And I was wearing pants, and so I see this lump on the side of my leg. They ended up calling the ambulance to come get me, and they took me to the hospital. My parents were called. They had to go to the hospital and meet me there. My mom was actually a nurse at the time, and so she was already at the hospital that they were sending me to. So she met the ambulance at the emergency room and then was with me the rest of the process, and then my dad joined later. This had never happened to me before. And they left me in that position for almost 2 hours. My mind is so blown how they just left me in that position with a dislocated kneecap. And they were moving me from the hospital bed onto the x-ray table, and then asking me to move around and to get into all these positions and turn my leg different ways so they could get it on the x-ray machine. And I was just screaming and crying. I was in so much pain. And finally, the doctor was like, oh yeah, we just wanted to make sure it didn't chip a bone or anything didn't get chipped, in the process of it dislocating, so we're gonna put it back. Well, by that time, my leg had fully locked in that position. So when he tried to move my leg and push my kneecap back in place, I just was in too much pain. I couldn't let him. That was like beyond anything I had experienced up until that point of my life. And so they had to put me under, give me IVs, knock me out. They put my kneecap into place. I then had to go home. I had to wrap my knee. I had to wear a knee brace, and I was on crutches for 8 weeks. And I didn't wear my leg for the first week, so I probably didn't even go back to school until a week after it happened. I just needed to let my leg rest and heal. My knee was so swollen, especially being dislocated for that long of a period of time. And it was a long healing process. I did lots of exercises to strengthen up all my quad muscles again, all my knee muscles, in order to re-strengthen those muscles to hold my kneecap in. I was really trying to trust my knee again and get it strong so that that would never happen again. So that was the first time that it dislocated, was in 7th grade. In 8th grade, I really wanted to try out for the cheer team. I really wanted to be a cheerleader. My whole life I had loved dance, I loved dancing, and I just thought, you know what? They did not have one girl on the cheer team that had any kind of disability, but that was a huge desire of my heart, is I really wanted to be a cheerleader. And my group of friends, there was 3 of us that were trying out together. I went to the cheer camp. I learned all the dances. I also had to make up my own dance. So I did that. And I think it was like 2nd day of the tryouts and learning choreography and things like that. So we had to get in a line with our arms wrapped around each other's shoulders and do a line of leg kicks where you kick up your right leg and then your left leg and you rotate doing that. So I was completely fine to kick up my right leg and jump with my left leg. That wasn't the problem. The problem happened when I had to kick my left leg and I had to jump up and down on this leg. And I have no ankle movement because of my prosthetic. So if I jump with my right leg, all of that pressure comes from my quad and my knee. So I'm trying to force my body up, kicking my left leg in the air, and I landed back down, boom. My kneecap then again went out of place for the 2nd time. And I am laying on the gym floor, grabbing my knee, yelling, saying, I dislocated my knee, call 911. Well, as I'm laying on the gym floor, this realization came to me of, oh my God, I cannot have them keep me in this position for another couple hours. Like, I can't do it. And so I did something that I did not think that I had the strength to do, but I ended up grabbing my leg, and my kneecap was over here and my leg was bent. I had to straighten my leg myself. And as I did, I pushed my own kneecap back into place. And immediately the pain stops. They still called the ambulance, they still wrapped my leg, I still had to be taken to the hospital. The same procedure was done. I was x-rayed to make sure that there was no bone chipping that occurred, that everything was fine inside the whole knee joint. And then I started all over, having to physical therapy, exercises, wearing a giant leg brace, and walking around on crutches for the next 2 months of my life. I never finished tryouts, so my dream of becoming a cheerleader died that day that I dislocated my knee for the 2nd time, and it was embarrassing. So all of that combined, I mean, junior high years are so rough anyway. And I had 2 years in a row where physically it was just so traumatic on my body and traumatic emotionally in regards to that I just was like, okay, I just can't do physical activities like this that are super hard on my body. And I have to be way more aware. Even today, when I am twisting or moving in different directions, I have to be very aware of what my leg is doing and making sure it follows through and comes along with my body, and it's not like just stuck, because then the muscles give way and that's when the patella can just slide on over. So, and I love to play, my husband and I play pickleball with friends of ours. I like to do physical activities, so I just have to make sure I'm very careful when I am doing those activities so that I do not re-injure myself. After that point, I did not dislocate my knee until I was married, and it was my early years of marriage. I would actually got up in the middle of the night to use the restroom, and when I came back to go to bed, I knocked my knee on the corner of the bed, and it literally knocked my kneecap out. So that was more of a blunt trauma injury, but it did knock it out. And again, I had to put it back in place myself. I still went and had it x-rayed and checked out. Every single time I do go and get it x-rayed and checked out to make sure that there was no internal damage done and that it can heal properly. And then the last time that I dislocated my knee was when I was 8 months pregnant with my youngest daughter, and she is 17. So 17 years ago, I was doing laundry and my other kids were home. Now they were 6 and 8 years old. They had already come home from school, and I was folding laundry, and I went to go put laundry on my bed. And when I twisted to do that, my kneecap just popped out of place. And I was 8 months pregnant. And I flung myself onto the bed and just laid there screaming. And my belly was so big, and I'm trying to grab my leg around my belly. And my poor kids, they come running in, and I'm just saying, call daddy, get my phone, call daddy. Tell him that I need him to come home. And I laid on my bed, and once again, I straightened my leg and I forced that kneecap back into place. That physically, that was super traumatic. I was worried. I'm like, I don't want to send myself into early labor. Like, it was horrible. And so the last few weeks of my pregnancy, I was actually on crutches. After my daughter was born, I had to spend the first month or two of her life like on crutches, being super careful as I walked, keeping my leg in my brace and getting up like to nurse her and to change her. It was super challenging during that season. I think my husband got to spend a few weeks home with me, but after that I was on my own. So I just had to make it work. I had to figure it out. And I had 2 little kids at home to keep up with. I will say that dislocating my knee has been the most painful and the most challenging thing I've had to deal with in regards to my artificial leg. And my leg has to rest right underneath my kneecap in order to support. I need my knee support to help me as I walk forward. I don't have ankle movement, so I don't have the push off that you would normally have with a foot. So my knee has to kind of take a lot of that pressure and has to make up for the lack of movement that I have from not having an ankle. And when I turn or twist, then like this part of my leg, my leg could stay stationary, but my body wants to turn and my leg doesn't turn with me. I hope that makes sense. So I just have to be very careful when I do physical activities, because honestly, that was so painful. And to have to put a dislocated bone or joint back in place yourself, I would not wish that on anybody to have to do. It's a whole different mindset you have to be in order to do that. But the pain is so excruciating that you literally are like, I will do anything to stop this pain from happening. And the only thing that you can do is to try and put that kneecap back in place yourself. And you just pray that it doesn't scrape or damage bones or muscles or tendons along the way. I will say physically, over my life, that has been the biggest challenge that I have faced with my artificial leg. So not even the fact that I don't have a foot, it's how that has affected my body in other ways that has actually been more of a challenge than missing the actual foot itself. So if you have any comments, if you have any questions about that, please comment down below. I'd be happy to answer your questions. I hope you enjoyed learning one more layer and one more aspect of what life is like with a prosthetic leg. Don't forget to please like and subscribe. I hope you guys have a great week. Thank you so much for watching Tina's Leg, where every day is leg day. And thank God it is not dislocated knee day.